All right, today we are digging into the absolute frenzy that is the AI industry right now. I mean, we're seeing these massive infrastructure projects, some really bizarre corporate culture shifts, and of course, some very, very strategic public relations. So let's dive in and try to make sense of the bigger picture here. To get a sense of the scale we're talking about, let's just start with this number, 60 trillion. That's how many AI tokens were consumed by employees at just one company, Meta by the way, in a single 30-day period. I mean, it's a number so huge it's hard to even wrap your head around, but it perfectly sets the stage for the kind of insanity we're seeing.
And a staggering number like that brings us right to the central question for this whole explainer. With all this money and all this energy and all this hype being poured into AI, how much of it is actually driving real world-changing innovation, and how much is just corporate theater? Is this progress or is it just a performance?
Okay, let's start with the hardware. Because without the hardware, none of this even exists. We are in a flat-out mad dash to build the physical engines that are going to power the future of artificial intelligence.
And maybe the biggest move on the board right now is this one. Intel is partnering with Elon Musk's entire ecosystem. We're talking Tesla, SpaceX, and xAI to build something they're calling the Terafab. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like, a massive, vertically integrated chip manufacturing complex planned for Austin, Texas.
Now, what's really wild here is the sheer scale of the bet that's being made. The Terafab is a $25 billion project. Now look at that second bar. This is all happening at a time when Intel's Foundry division, the part of the company that's going to be key to all this, just lost over $10 billion in 2023. The stakes, they could not be higher.
So, you might be asking, why make such a gigantic bet? Well, because for both sides, it's a potential game changer. For Musk, he gets the one thing he wants most, control. A dedicated factory means no more waiting in line at TSMC. And for Intel? Honestly, this is a lifeline. They get a massive, guaranteed customer for their brand new chip processes, which is exactly what their struggling foundry business needs to prove it can compete.
And this quote right here, it just cuts through all the corporate speak and gets right to the heart of it. This isn't just some strategic partnership. It's a response to a brutal physical reality. In this AI gold rush, the ultimate bottleneck is hardware. It's simple. If you don't have the chips, you don't get to play the game.
So that's the hardware. Now let's shift from the engine itself to the people burning the fuel. If the Terafab is all about building the engine, this next part is about how companies are burning through that fuel. And it seems like nobody is burning it faster, or more strangely, than Meta.
All this has led to a brand new phenomenon people are calling token maxing. The basic idea is that your value, your productivity as an employee is being measured by how many AI tokens you consume. It's not about what you create, it's about how much compute you burn in the process.
Now, the official line for this culture comes right from the top. Meta CTO Andrew Bosworth has openly encouraged his engineers to spend huge amounts on tokens, framing it all as an investment that's going to lead to 10x productivity gains. And that's a noble goal for sure.
But the reality on the ground is, well, it's just absurd. Reports are coming out about employees who are just gaming the system. To climb an internal leaderboard that tracks token consumption, some are just leaving AI agents running in these pointless loops for hours. In one case, literally having an AI summarize its own summaries over and over again.
And this quote just brilliantly illustrates the core problem. As one analyst put it, this is just a new version of a very old and a very bad idea. Back in the day, managers tried to measure a programmer's productivity by how many lines of code they wrote, which we all learned pretty quickly was a terrible metric. Token maxing is just the AI era version of that exact same mistake.
Okay, so we've got the hardware race, and we've got this cultural race. But there's a third front in this gold rush, the race to manage public perception. And for that story, we've got to turn to OpenAI. So on the surface, this looks great. OpenAI announced a brand new safety fellowship, inviting outside experts to come work on AI alignment. They're offering a pretty generous weekly stipend of over $3,800 and a monthly compute budget of $15,000. It really seems like a serious commitment to safety.
But this is where the story gets complicated. You have to look at this timeline. On the morning of April 7th, The New Yorker drops a bombshell report detailing how OpenAI had actually disbanded its key internal safety team. Then, just a few hours later, on the very same day, OpenAI announces this brand new external-facing safety program. The timing is, well, it's remarkable.
So, the crucial question is this. Is this a genuine course correction from OpenAI, a real recommitment to safety, or is it just incredibly savvy pre-IPO damage control? a way to change the headline on what was a very, very bad news day? The answer is probably a little bit of both.
Now, while all of this is happening with the big players here in the US, it is so important to remember this is a global race. So let's take a quick look at what else is happening in the wider AI landscape.
It is moving so fast everywhere. Musk's XAI is just scaling up raw power, expanding its supercluster. Meanwhile, over in China, DeepSeek is getting ready to launch a massive new model that completely bypasses US sanctions by running on Huawei chips instead of NVIDIA. And Alibaba's QN is pushing forward on agent technology. Everybody is sprinting, just in slightly different directions.
Which brings us right back to where we started. We've seen the race to build the physical infrastructure, the bizarre internal cultures that pop up because of it, and the high-stakes PR game to control the narrative. So as this gold rush continues to accelerate at this dizzying pace, it leaves us with one final question to think about. Who out there is actually building the tools that will define our future, and who is just burning fuel for the sake of the show?